Hello friends, I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is pretty good. The air quality today is way worse than it was yesterday. Should have waited till today. Went for my walk and my eyes are burning. Anyway, recently I discovered a a journal. Now I think that I've written things down my whole life. I have tried to put things into context for myself my whole life, and often the best way that I can do that is to write it out. That helps me process, that helps me do whatever. And so before this, before doing this thing, before like various points of my life, I have physical records. And I found one of those. And it was a physical record, a journal of when I started taking the SSRI that I was on. I've been off of it now almost 5 years, and over those 5 years, I've cataloged how I feel in relation to how I was feeling on the medication. And in this journal that I found, it's a very short, maybe 12 entries over a few months span. I tried to catalog how I was feeling, how things were, how the medication was affecting me. But today it's not about the medication, it's about something else. I think that it's important for me to catalog this transition in my life. We've talked about it over the last couple of years. This transition from being, I don't want to claim destitute, but I was desperately poor, meaning that there was a point in my life for a large portion of my adulthood where there was literally nothing left over at the end of the month. And not because we spent money on frivolous things or we drank lots of soda or I had a coffee every day on the way to work. There was literally nothing, and barely, feeding the family, barely making it through. And I was desperately poor. Transition to now, I have excess. I have a savings. I have a safety net. More than anything, I have a safety net. I'm not desperate for money. I'm not trying to do anything and everything I possibly can do to earn a little bit extra. If I want to earn extra, I have a side job and it pays me better than my day job. I can just churn out money, right? So I'm doing well. And it doesn't occur to me that often because I still have the I'm destitute mindset. I still don't like spending money. But at Origins this past weekend, I bought a few things. I bought a board game that somebody told me, hey, you should check this game out. And I was like, oh, I walked past that. I'll go back and look. I went and looked, got the rundown, immediately realized, oh, this is absolutely a game that I will enjoy. And I asked how much it was, and I think it was $50, and so I just bought it, and it wasn't a big deal. That necessarily wasn't the event, but going back to when I started my board gaming journey in '96, going to conventions as a teenager. I was 17, 18 years old when I started going to these shows. I had, I would scrimp and save paychecks from working at Burger King or my paper route or cutting yards or whatever it was to take on these trips. And I can remember going on these trips with like $100. And that was to cover food, that was to cover, anything that I wanted to purchase. Like I had $100. And so everything that I did was figuring it out, right? And I did that for years. And into adulthood, after having kids, I would still go to these shows and still have nothing. And, when I started working for Portal in 2014, Portal would pay for my trip. I would get reimbursed for travel expenses. And, but I wasn't charging in the beginning, I wasn't charging any kind of rate or anything like that. So it was still like scrimping. Like, all right, I got $75 to spend this show, or I've got a budget of $50 I can spend on games. And so spending $50 on a board game would have been my whole budget. And I remember what that felt like. But to go there and buy this game, and when I asked the price, I immediately felt a little weird. Like, I don't really care what the price is. Like, I know I'm going to play it. It's fine. Like, I'm in a safe place where I know that the guy's not going to look at me and be like $300, So I bought the game, no big deal. And then I spent some time looking for a gift for I can call her Malia now. I spent some time looking for a gift for Malia, and I found something that last year I had purchased at Gen Con. I found something that I bought for her, And I found that same booth was at Origins, and so I went back. Last year, I got a little ceramic, not a flask, a potion bottle. I mean, it's a little bottle with a stopper. And it just says Polyjuice on it in like the lightning bolt font that's on the cover of the Harry Potter books. And I loved it. I thought it was really cute, and I bought it for her. This year, I went back to that booth, and I found that she had house crest themed mugs. And so I walked over to her booth, and there was a person at the register. There was another person waiting. So I just kind of stood there and was like, yeah, I think I'll do that. And then when it became my turn, she said, what can I do for you? And I was like, I want a Ravenclaw and a Gryffindor mug. That was it. She packaged it up. I didn't ask prices. I didn't need to. It was okay. Whatever the price was, I was going to pay it. I mean, again, this was, I feel like, I had an idea of what she was charging last year. I think I paid $20 for the little Polyjuice bottle. So I didn't expect her prices for these mugs to be $100 a piece or something. I expected these prices to be an achievable price. And whatever that a price was, I have it. It's fine. Like, I didn't ask a price. And when she told me the price, I went, okay. And like, there was no... I can't... it's... People talk about politicians losing touch with how a commoner lives. And I think it's a very real thing. But I didn't ever feel like, obviously I'm not making that kind of money, but I didn't ever feel that until that very moment. It was like, oh, I didn't, that the adage of if you need to ask what the price is, you can't afford it. I get it. Like, oh, that's that privilege. That's that I have a safety net. I can afford this. I came here. This is extra expense. It's not a big deal. I'll just buy it, whatever it is, that's fine, and I'm going to have these 2 mugs. I told you that I did the same thing in Mexico, but in Mexico it was a calculated decision. In Mexico, we went into this little shop. There was the salesman. He was a salesman, like he was bullshitting us the entire time we were in there. I knew he was bullshitting us. I purchased some alcohol. I way overpaid for it. I knew that. It wasn't about that. It was about the experience, right? And it was about like, yeah, sure, whatever. But it was still a calculated thought, because it was like, I don't know if I want to spend that kind of money on this experience we just had. But buying these mugs, I was like, I've got whatever number she's going to say is fine. I have it. It's not a big deal. And that felt weird. That felt super duper strange. And so I think it's important to really stop and think about those things, or else we will forget, or else I could turn into that politician that forgets what it's like to be poor. Right? I don't ever want to forget what that felt like. I don't want to feel it again. Like, I'm not saying that I ever want to go back to being desperate. But I don't want to forget that feeling, because I think that feeling drove a lot of... it drove me to where I am now. And I think that, maybe I wouldn't have got there as quickly as I have, had I stayed in the relationship that I was in. Maybe I would have never gotten there. I don't know. But I'm there now, and I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget that I came from a lot less, and that there was a time in my life where I couldn't afford to buy a gift for somebody regardless of the price. It's a painful feeling. And it's interesting to be past it. So, there we go. I'm just cataloging stuff. That's what we do here, right? What do you guys got going on this week? Anything exciting? We've got a long weekend. The governor decided to give us Monday off, so I have a 4-day weekend coming up. That's pretty cool. What do you got going on? Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is Renaissance. It is a noun and an adjective, meaning a period of great learning, thinking, and creativity in art, literature, science, economics, and philosophy. We were so pleased by the renaissance of wealth acquisition that arose during the closing years of the 20th century. Renaissance. R-E-N-A-I-S-S-A-N-C-E. So I pronounce it the way that I've learned the word, like a Renaissance fair. The pronunciation key emphasizes the Ren and Renaissance, but I've also heard people pronounce it Renaissance. And is that just a British pronunciation, or is that just somebody being difficult?